Sometimes the garlands are given to the speakers, like the advanced speakers, for honoring them. But in my case, I need the garland to help me. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Yamuna Tira Varachari Yamuna Tira Varachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Hari Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Samaveta Bhaktavrinda All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. Narayanam namaskritam naram chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayudhiraye Nasta Prayeshu Abhadeshu Nitam Bhagavata Seva Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. So we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, Text 52. And let us say this invocation before we recite. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So let's do the word for word. Can you all see? Yeah? Can you all read? If you can't read, you can come closer to the bottom. So let's just do the word for word so we get used to it, and then do the line by line. And then we'll come back for the translation. Griheshu Vartmana Api Sa Samrajya Shriyanmita Na Ashajata Indriyarteshu. So that word's quite a long word, but if you look in the word for word, you'll see it's broken up into syllables. So you can start from Na. We can do it again. Na Ashajata Indriyarteshu Ni Aham Mati Arka Arkavat Griheshu Varmanopi Shasham Raja Shriyanvita Na Asajata Indriyarteshu Niraham Matirarkavat Griheshu Vadmanopi Sa Samrajya Shriyanvita Na Asajata Indriyarteshu Niraham Matir Arkavat Griheshu Varmanopi Sa Samrajya Shriyanvita Na Shajata Indriyarteshu Niraham Matirakavat. Griheshu Vatmanopi Shriyanvita Sasham Raja Shriyanvitaha Na Ashajata Indriyarteshu Nirahammatirarkavat Griheshu Vartamanopi Sasamrajya Shriyanvitaha Na sajata indriyarteshu nirahammati raghavat. Bhakti Maji, right? Yeah. Griheshu vardmanaupi sa samrajya shriyanvitaha. You look at the word for word and say from there. Na shajata indriyarteshu nirahammati rarkavat. Griheshu, at home. Vatmanaha, being present. Api, although. Sah, King Prithu. Samrajya, the entire empire. Shriyanvita, Shriya, opulence. Anvita, being absorbed in. Na, never. Asajata, become attracted. Indriyarteshu, for sense gratification. Nihi, no. Aham, I am. Mati, consideration. Arka, the sun. Vat, like. The translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and the purport that will follow, the commentary. Maharaj Prithu who was very opulent due to the prosperity of his entire empire, remained at home as a householder. Since he was never inclined to utilize his opulence for the gratification of his senses, he remained unattached, exactly like the sun, which is unaffected in all circumstances. Please repeat, phrase by phrase. Maharaj Prithu, who was very opulent due to the prosperity of his entire empire, remained at home as a householder. Since he was never inclined to utilize his opulences for the gratification of his senses, he remained unattached, exactly like the sun, which is unaffected in all circumstances. The purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The word griheshu is significant in this verse. Out of the 4 ashrams, the brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha and sannyas, only a grihastha or householder is allowed to associate with women. Therefore, the grihastha ashram is a kind of license for sense gratification given to the devotee. Prithu Maharaj was special in that although he was given license to remain a householder, and although he possessed immense opulences in his kingdom, he never engaged in sense gratification. This was a special sign that indicated him to be a pure devotee of the Lord. A pure devotee is never attracted by sense gratification, and consequently he is liberated. In material life, a person engages in sense gratification for his own personal satisfaction. But in the devotional or liberated life, one aims to satisfy the senses of the Lord. In this verse, Maharaj Prithu is likened to the sun, Arkavat. Sometimes the sun shines on stool, urine, and so many other polluted things, But since the sun is all-powerful, it is never affected by the polluted things with which it associates. On the contrary, the sunshine sterilizes and purifies polluted and dirty places. Similarly, a devotee may engage in so many material activities, but because he has no desire for sense gratification, they never affect him. On the contrary, he dovetails all material activities for the service of the Lord. Since a pure devotee knows how to utilize everything for the Lord's service, he is never affected by material activities. Instead, by his transcendental plans, he purifies such activities. This is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat puratvena nirmalam. His aim is to become completely purified in the service of the Lord without being affected by material designations. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Deve Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpadarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Everyone. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langayate girim yad kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sohodito Godadaya Pushpavanto Chitra Sando Tamonudam. The translation once more. Maharaj Prithu was very opulent due to the prosperity of his entire empire, remained at home as a householder. Since he was never inclined to utilize his opulence for the gratification of his senses, he remained unattached, exactly like the sun, which is unaffected in all circumstances. So, in the last few verses, we find that the qualities of Maharaj Prithu are being described, and particularly his position as a householder. For those who are new, we are speaking about the first king, King Prithu, the first installed king on this planet who Lord Brahma consecrated. And his qualities as the ideal king are being described here this chapter, this canto 4 in particular, the great sage Maitreya Rishi is speaking and answering the great devotee Vidura's questions. So in the course of that discussion, the Leela of King Prithu is being described. So now we see in the last few verses, particularly his qualities as a householder, and as a detached householder, and as a devotee householder. So yesterday, I was seeing online, Jai Sachinanda Prabhu discussed in detail the aspects of karma kanda and karma yoga, and because that was mentioned in the purport, in the previous purport, it was quite a long purport, also text 51. The term karma yoga is being described there, bhakti yoga is mentioned, and how Prithu Maharaj is liberated even though he being a householder. So those are some terms that are can be quite confusing, and even those who study Bhagavad Gita for a long time, they find that they're always a little confused, because karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, these are also not just some concepts you can describe intellectually, they are quite deep. And in fact, we are in good company, because Arjuna is also confused about those terms. And he asked Krishna over and over to please explain, re-explain. You said this, but now you're saying this, please re-explain. So the whole chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita all the way to chapter 6 is dealing with these aspects of karma yoga, jnana yoga, renunciation, sannyas, and all of that. And then later in chapter 18 you speak about tyaga. So these concepts can be a little confusing. So I'd like to start by asking, karma yoga versus bhakti yoga, or is it? Or does it verse? Is it a versus? Jai, you want to answer? Jai Shri Shri Radha Nath ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaura Hari ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
It's a rung on the ladder. It's the intensity of coming to a higher level. It's
Yes.
one level of bhakti, but not the ultimate.
Yes, so
Because the tendency is to always be active. So Krishna is encouraging us, do it for me. Yat karoshi ratasnasi. Whatever you do it for me. That is karma yoga. Otherwise, the tendency we tend to taste and see things in all activities, but Krishna is saying, do it for me. But the higher level is to do it with love. Sometimes we do things, we become fruitive. That's also a type of fruitive mentality is there. Whatever we do, we see people bringing fruit, but they have some agenda, isn't they?
Yeah.
But nevertheless, they're coming to see.
Krishna.
So that is a kind of karma yoga, is there?
yes.
Yeah. Well, jnana yoga is also a path. It's different paths that lead ultimately to bhakti. Yeah.
All right. Thank
Same
you.
with Sankhya. There's different
And
types.
Sankhya?
Yeah. Also, Sankhya means to analyze the material nature and come to a point to what's behind all this creation, and we come to understand the root of all causes is the Supreme Person of Godhead. So bhakti is also a level, brings us to that point of understanding that God is there.
Okay. Thank you. So Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 and chapter 6 particularly, Srila Prabhupada speaks on the purports of the yoga ladder. I think you covered some of this yesterday. Yeah? So we are on a trajectory of progression from leaving behind our fruitive mentality and then coming to the point of where we become detached from the results of our activity. So karma yoga, karma means action, activity, and yoga means to unite. So your union with God, union with the Supreme, linking with the Supreme. So you're linking your activity with the Supreme. So in the normal course of understanding karma yoga, it's that the practitioner is actually acting with detachment. He's working, he's getting results, but is not attached to the results of his or her work. Like those in Karma Kanda, the fruitive workers, they're all engaged in work, even praying to God for the result. I want the result of my work. And in that way, very much in the mode of passion. But the karma yogi, the one who understands, in fact may also become very satiated. In the normal course of life, you'll have to understand that this jiva gets the opportunity to progress. So if the jiva is non-envious, and the jiva, the spirit soul, subjects himself to a process of religion, then after lifetimes he will develop enough punya, pious credit, to climb that ladder. And then even those who are involved in fruitive activities, after some time they see, okay, I'm getting the results of what I've been praying for to the demigods. And but still people around me are dying, and sometimes I have the wealth, sometimes I lose it all. I'm up and down. Still there's birth, old age, disease, death, and they become also satiated with all of that, and they think there's still a vacuum, a void in the heart, and they think there must be something more. So in that way they start to search out and they progress, and that way they can become detached from the results of their work. And slowly they're progressing up this ladder that Jai Sachinanda Prabhu is speaking about. So we find that the karma yogi is detached from the results. But the bhakti yogi is attached to Krishna and the service. In the normal understanding of karma yoga is that at that point of karma yoga, the karma yogi may not have a clear understanding of whom to direct his activities to. He understands there's a spiritual destination, but it's not clear then. As we see in society, we have many people in mode of goodness in particular institutions, and they identify themselves as karma yogis, and so on. They say, I'm a karma yogi. Which means they engage in some selfless activity, they have a spiritual idea about it, God, and so on, but they're not quite clear. But Srila Prabhupada in the purports of Bhagavad Gita, and that is where sometimes we try to figure out, he immediately says karma yoga is also bhakti yoga. Because he is explaining that sometimes the words are used interchangeably. Bhakti yoga is the foundation. Right? And, the real understanding of karma yoga can only be achieved by the practice of bhakti yoga. So he explains that when the actions are dedicated to Vishnu, to Krishna, then that karma yoga is now bhakti yoga. So karma yoga to bhakti yoga, the transition. So he uses it interchangeably sometimes. So karma yoga becomes a means to purify the consciousness to lead us to bhakti, the mind, the senses, and the intelligence. So in this purport we see that King Prithu is being described as the ideal grihastha. the 4 ashrams. And you are familiar with this, most of you, but for those who are not, what did he say? Rashika. Your name is? Ragita. Yes, okay, welcome. So in the society, if you look around, if you look at analyze society, you'll see that there are people in student life. Then there are people in married life. And then there are people who are older together in married life, having passed raising their children. And then in the Vedic system, then the man generally becomes renounced when he travels. So this is the 4 social orders being described. Brahmacharya in the ideal society, in the Vedic society, is that the students are celibate. They grow up celibate, not like modern society where there's free mingling of girls and boys and a whole lot of sense gratification. Illicit sex happens, unfortunately, and all of these things happen. So brahmacharya is celibate life. Students are taught to be celibate. And up till at least the age of 25, they're serving the spiritual teacher, master, guru. And then with his permission, they enter into into household life, which is grihastha, ashram. So householder, grihastha, ashram. And the word ashram is associated with the word, because ashram means a spiritual institution. And therefore, the husband and wife, what are they called? Yes? They are, but they're called dharampati and dharampatni. Dharmapati, dharmapatni. So dharma is a word meaning, is being translated as righteousness, but dharma is actually the very essence of who you are. It comes from the root word dhri, to mean that essence of which you are. And what are we? Understanding that we are spirit soul, then the essence, the dhri that we are, is that we are lovers of Krishna. And therefore, all our activities that facilitate the correct conduct in which to develop that love for Krishna is dharma. So on one level, it's all the principles of spiritual practice, it's righteousness, but it's also dharma, the essence. So if the husband is that person, the dharampati, is that pati means protector, the protector of dharma. Well done. Tasmad ekena manasha bhagavan sattvatam patihi. Patihi. Bhagavan sattvatam pati. Bhagavan Krishna, sattvatam, the devotees, patihi. The protector of the devotees is Bhagavan. So the protector of dharma in grihastha ashram, dharampati. And she, the wife, is dharampatni. The wife conducts herself in accordance with dharmic principles. So, Prithu Maharaj, is said here, he's special in that although he was given license to remain a householder, and although he possessed immense opulences, he never engaged in sense gratification. So how do we understand sense gratification? How would we define that for the benefit of those who are new here? What do we mean by sense gratification? To satisfy your senses. So one may think, what is wrong with that? We have senses, so it's natural for us to satisfy them. We use our senses to see, to hear, to taste, to smell, to feel and touch. But, Jai, please, you want to answer? Are you stretching out or you want to answer? Yes.
Krishna is saying, Kamosmi, I am sex life. But it's not contrary to religious principles. So. And Prabhupada, in the little purport, he says, procreation should be, sex life should be for procreation of Krishna conscious children. Should not use it otherwise.
Yes. Like hogs and dogs, Srila Prabhupada used, very savvy. So the human being is given a responsibility. One may want to know, why have we been given intellect? Why have we been given superior facilities of this body? We are higher than the animals, we are higher than the insects and birds and the bees. As Prabhupada uses the example in his purpose, is that a judge is given a superior facility than the clerk in the court, because he has a higher responsibility, so he's got a better office and so on. He has a higher responsibility. Clerk got a small one somewhere, right? Usually you go there and you see dusty files and whatever behind the the pokey looking guys looking from behind. So it's just like, so the facilities, so the human being is given superior facilities, and therefore one has to use one's intelligence to know that these senses of ours can lead us astray from the real responsibility of life if we chase after them unrestrictedly. So people, when they see something, they want it. When they hear something, they want it. When they taste something, they want it. But not everything that we experience with the senses is good for us. Therefore, the scriptures, they will caution us about sense gratification. Once we use the senses in the service of Krishna, then that's the proper utility of the senses. So a very simple thing could be, and all of you, this is a very simple lesson. Let's take eating. If we go to the mall right now, what's being advertised? Breakfast. Come to the restaurant for breakfast. And then, what are the breakfasts they are serving? Ribs and eggs. You walk past there, all the big TV screens are flashing at you. Discount, discount. So your sense of sight, firstly, see that. Yes, then in the repository in the mind, and the mind dictates, yes, you must get it, you must get it. Let me go in there. They said it's a discount. 2 for the price of 1. If I eat for 2, can you still give me? Right. So like that, so many things are going on. And then the senses are dictating, but the devotees' senses are different. So here we sing Prithu Maharaj. Of course we know Prithu Maharaj is the Shaktyavesh avatar, he's Vishnu. But as an example, he's showing by example the standard for householders. And although he was given license to remain a household, so the Grihastha ashram is considered to be a type of concession granted to the living entity, because not everybody can be fully renounced, and not everybody is able to fully control their senses. So the Grihastha ashram is given as a concession in which a dharampati and dharampatni can serve alongside each other. And in that way, by focusing on Krishna in the middle, They can conduct their household affairs and use that as a platform to transcend it. The concession is given in that grihastas bring up children. So there is some sense engagement between the husband and wife. But the scriptures will describe the process for that, and you're familiar with Garbhadhan, Samskar, and so on. You'll hear about all of this in King Prithu's stories. So in this verse here, we see that he's likened, we'll come back to. So some of the things that I thought that we could look at here, and I'm looking at the time as well, is that we see that Prithu Maharaj is opulent, but he's very detached from his opulence. People are not very detached. In fact, people want to be extravagant. What is that word? Ostentatious. A display of wealth. People want to show everybody that I have so much wealth. Right? The bling, the jewelry and big chains and the ring. People wear that. They want to show this. Or if they have a motor vehicle, then everybody must see it. And so on. They flash by with it. We don't envy that. You don't envy me my Ferrari, I won't envy you your bicycle. Right? So we don't envy that. It's just that if it's an ostentatious display of wealth for the sake of your false ego, then that is a distraction from, it's actually inflaming your false ego because you're identifying with those objects. But Prithu Maharaj, he's so opulent, king of the earth, and yet he was detached in his opulence. That reminds me of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Who was the most opulent of the followers? Well, there were many, but one of them. Yes, okay. One more person. Pundarik Vidyanidhi. In Gaur Gunadesh Deepika, it's explained that he's actually King Rishabhanu in his previous life. And here he appears in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime, a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. And so advanced that he gives Diksha to Gadadhar Pandit. So now you can see the connection there also. I was thinking about King Rishabhanu, Radharani. So the connection is there. And he was very opulent, and he pretended to be a worldly person, and he acted out in worldly ways. Right? So much opulence. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent Rupa Goswami to visit him. It became a type of a test or a lesson. Rupa Goswami sees Pundarik Vidyanidhi and sees how opulent he is, and externally it appeared ostentatious. But eventually Rupa Goswami learns how a great devotee, how his mind and heart and soul is dedicated and detached from that wealth. And Rupa Goswami learns. And by this example, by this Leela, Lord Chaitanya is teaching us also how that we shouldn't also judge on externals. Of course, Madhyam platform means we should be able to discriminate between who's a devotee and who's not, so that we can understand who to preach to, who not to preach to, avoid the envious, preach to the innocent. That is there. So we see in society ostentatious, extravagant people who have false egos as big as their Ferrari, and so on. We see that. But at the same time, we also have devotees who, by their good karma, they have opulence. But then we see how they are using their context in Krishna's service. They facilitate the devotees. You pick up the phone, you say, Prabhu, somebody, needs help, and they say, sure, okay, I'll help. So they also are generous, magnanimous. Of course, on the platform of the yoga ladder, it is mixed, right? We talk about karma mishra bhakti, mixed. There is some karma yoga heading and bhakti, but then we still have some desire for the material opulences, of working for some results. But it's a process of purification takes place. And we do see eventually when those devotees are leaving the planet and so on, then those things they're not worried about it anymore. They just like give up everything to Krishna and they go. Like the story of this materialistic businessman. He was on his deathbed, he was dying, and he was surrounded by his family, and they were all wailing, and now in his last breath he's saying, is my wife here? Yes, dear, I'm here. Is my son here? Are my sons here? Yes, yes, Father, we're all here. We are here with you. Are my daughters here? Yes, yes, Dad, we are here. My nephews? In this way he went through and then at the end he said, then if you're all here, who is running the shop? So he's still very attached in that last bit of his life. But the devotees, they give their heart to Krishna. They focus on Krishna, and that's it, and their material opulence. So we see here, Maharaj Prithu is the ideal example. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is citing, referring or using an analogy of King Prithu like the sun, and there's different ways we can understand it. In this verse, Maharaj Prithu is likened to the sun, Arkavat. Sometimes the sun shines on stool, urine, and so many polluted things, and since the sun is all-powerful, it's never affected by the polluted things with which it associates. On the contrary, the sun sterilizes and purifies polluted and dirty place. Similarly, a devotee may engage in so many material activities, but because he has no desire for sense gratification, they never affect him. So the process of bhakti can be understood here to be like the sun. And the sun purifies stool and urine, which is found. I live in a little apartment, and fortunately the balcony faces the ocean. So in the morning I see the rising sun. This morning was very beautiful, a reddish, Arun Kiran, reddish morning sun. And then those thoughts do come. So people sometimes they offer their oblations to the sun in the morning, like part of their rituals and so on. They do that. And it's nice that they are offering some demigods some worship. But if you change your consciousness and you think, my dear Surya or Vivasvan, you're rising this morning, and just as you shine upon the stool and urine and purify those dirty places, can you shine upon my consciousness and purify my consciousness so that I can love Krishna? And that would be the proper way to offer that respect in the morning, because Surya will say, yes, my child, I shall help you, because Krishna is my Istadev too. So in that way we can think like that. And at the same time, it is the devotee who's practicing Krishna consciousness, like Maharaj Prithu, is also being compared to the sun. Because that devotee can also positively impact others. Sadhu Sangha, Lava Matra. What is it? 1/10th, 1/11th of a second. Association, the pure devotee. And we know that we've come in touch with the books of Srila Prabhupada, and it's changed our consciousness. We've come in touch with devotees, and they have changed our consciousness. So they are. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andakara. Tahan Krishna Yaha Naha Maya Andakar. Krishna is like the sun. Maya is like darkness. Wherever there's a sun, there's no question of Maya or darkness. So we can understand that. So it says here that similarly a devotee. So this is the two ways in which I can understand that paragraph, is that the process of bhakti yoga is like the sun and is purifying even the most fallen or most polluted places. The most polluted consciousness gets purified. And then the devotee who's practicing is also like the sun, because he positively... So here it says, Prabhupada says, since a pure devotee knows how to utilize everything for the Lord's service, he is never affected by material activities. Instead, by his transcendental plans, he purifies such activities. So one more understanding is that the devotee then is engaged in material activities, apparently, because he has to engage to eat, to live, and so on. But because he is purified by the sun of bhakti yoga, then the activities he engages in is also purified. So he purified those activities. So he purifies such activities because he's offering it all to Krishna. And the activities become purified. So this is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Srila Prabhupada brings up this verse here, and it's also a deep point that Prabhupada is bringing up the citation from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, because Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the ocean of the nectar of devotion, is a very elevated scripture that speaks about the highest rasas of bhakti or relationship with. So here he's saying, and I kind of thought we could speak about some other things, but time is going, we'll conclude with this. Sarvopadi vinuir muktam tat paradvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchyate. And the translation is, bhakti or devotional service means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master of all of the senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from all material designations, and one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord. This is spoken by Narada in Narad Pancharatra, and it's cited in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu it's chapter 1:1-12. And it's also cited in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So here we're saying that when one engages one's senses, then the senses become purified, and the activities with which one is engaging with is also purified, very much like putting the iron in the fire, and the iron eventually becomes fire. Purification takes place. But here's an interesting thing, that this verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu follows a very important verse, which is a definition of bhakti. And which is that verse? You all know it. The Anya Bhilasita Sunyam verse. Anya Bhilasita Sunyam, those who know, say with me. Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. When first class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires. Is that King Prithu? He must also be devoid of knowledge obtained by monastic philosophy, means speculative knowledge obtained through impersonal Mayavad practices. And fruitive action. Should not be interested in acquiring for your senses. Does that describe King Prithu? Yes. And the devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires, not as you desire. So this is such an important aspect in this. Prabhupada is raising that point. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Sarvapadi Vinir Muktam. His aim is to become completely purified in the service of the Lord without being affected by material designations. So what are the types of material designations that can affect us? The upadhis. Yes. Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Sudra Kenanoi. Say Krishna's Tattva Veda, say Guru Hoy. That there. I'm not a Vipra, I'm not a Brahmana, I'm not a sannyasi. I'm none of these upadhis. What else? What are the other upadhis? The external designations.
Householder.
Householder. Gender. Nationality. Creed. Caste. Race. So many upadhis. So, but sarva upadhi, above all of those upadhis and designations, when we engage our senses in the service of the master of the senses. Therefore, we are not Godas, but you are trying to be Goswami, the controller of the senses, but not the servant of the senses. So a wonderful lesson to learn from King Prithu. It's not only for grihastas, because you'll see, to return and to the Bhagavad Gita, which we first started off, we see that Krishna tells Arjuna, Sannyasam cham cha yogi cham. That extract is from that verse, chapter 6, verse 1. That one there's no difference between the sannyas and the yogi, because one who is working in renunciation. You see, sannyas is not just a spiritual order, but it is the spirit of renunciation that is important. Prabhupada chastises in Bhagavad Gita the sannyas that is normally understood in society as the jnana yogi, who takes to artificial renunciation by simply just giving up everything and saying, I've now taken to sannyas order and therefore I am renounced. Prabhupada criticizes that, and he says that is artificial renunciation. So it is not the order, but it is the spirit of renunciation. He says, so what is if one is in that order but is focusing on sense gratification, then he's not. But yet a householder like Prithu and others, King Prithu and others, who are even in householder, but they are in the spirit of renunciation, are also sannyas. Thank you so much. We'll stop there, and we've gone 10 minutes over. Some questions or comments? Jai Prabhu?
Yeah, you mentioned about the sun purifying the Sanskrit apapa vidam.
Yes.
Apapa vidam is also mentioned in the Ishopanishad, and I think the English word prophylactic. I don't know, can you explain?
Yes, prophylactic.
It has that ability to purify. That's the term I remember, prophylactic. But a pure devotee, wherever he says, wherever his feet lands, becomes a tirthapad.
Yes.
the place becomes a place of pilgrimage. Yeah, so because of his...
So we should all glorify South Africa because Srila Prabhupada put his lotus feet here. This is a Tirtha, 50th anniversary, Ki Jai.
Haribol.
So we should all remember that, isn't it? This place is not just South Africa, despite all of its externals that are happening, the upadis. But Srila Prabhupada placed his lotus feet here. So we have great merit, we have great fortune. We should know that. Therefore, when we come into this temple, as I said on Sunday, this is a portal to the spiritual world. This is not a building. This is the internal energy of the Lord. And therefore, we should always be grateful for that and exercise caution also about how we conduct and understand this place.
Yeah, when Dinabandhu Prabhu first came to Durban, he called it, he says, this is Durban, not Durban.
Yeah, he always says that. Durban.
Durban.
The furthest forest from Vrindavan. Thank you so much for all of that. Any other comments? You want to ask anything? You understood? Yes? All right. So now you can join us and we can purify the taste, the sense of taste, because you can join them for prasad. Okay? All right. You have a question? Kishore, you want to say something?
I say we have to change a taste to get taste of the rasa, the different rasa.
That's right. So I'll finish with this anecdote by Parthasarathy Maharaj. So I used to live alone, and I used to come to the temple and go and come and go and come. And then at that time, those early days, I used to drive Maharaj. So one day I told Maharaj that, Maharaj, when I'm at home, things are so drab and empty. I just like to be here in the temple all the time. He said, you're getting the higher taste. So yes, so this is what we need. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki, Gaur Premanande, Hari 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 Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Anybody is studying Nectar of Devotion at the moment? Who's reading?